Hello, so today's video I mentioned that I was putting this in the weeb wrap up. It's not obviously in the fucking weeb wrap up, it is here as its own video. So this is my review of the Mario movie. Hope you guys enjoy. So the Super Mario movie, I'm personally not going to recap this movie because there is not a whole lot of plotline. That and there's also too much plotline, if that makes sense. There's too many different characters packed into a relatively short runtime for this film, and I feel like to accommodate for the actual plot being near non-existent and to pack as much screen time in for as many references as possible, obvious jokes were cut before their punchline, battle scenes were broken up to make them all super short, and characters that deserve more screen time to better further the plot were pushed for a gag. Then is the fact that throughout the entire film, all I could think of was, hey, reference! From the get-go, you have so many references to different Mario and Super Mario Bros. Themed media within this film. You have references to prior TV shows, you have references to games, you have the setup for what could be other Mario movies, which I really don't think there should be after this one, but who knows, it's Nintendo, they could be making tons of money. I'm also not going to be putting clips in for this specific section because I do not want to get bapped by Nintendo. I also think it is so shitty that Mario's actual voice actor, first of all, the actual models for the characters themselves, why did they need to make new models for Mario characters when they already have 3D versions of the Super Mario Bros? I don't know why they didn't just use those instead of creating whole new models for the movie. That is something that bothered me from the get-go. I think it was so wrong that they put, like, Mario's actual voice actor in a throwaway character. I feel like they could have given it the Wednesday treatment and like made him an actual central character, and that would have been so fucking awesome. But no, he was a throwaway character and I wasn't a fan. Generally, for the film, the references carried, with the characterizations of Bowser and Luigi carrying the cast, and Seth Rogen playing Seth Rogen actually paid off for this movie for once. And I say this because the main three of the film follow the frustratingly common plot structure of hero, annoying sidekick, and girl. This mostly can be seen within the Emoji Movie, but this plot structure is really frustrating. I will say, however, Toad being the annoying one was completely toned down. As I said, a lot of the jokes were like cut before they needed to be. They cut a lot of Toad's jokes, thank fuck. So he was not as annoying as he needed to be. And while he was less annoying, that hero, annoying, and girl plot structure was still there. And it really did frustrate me. And basically the plot followed on Illumination's really lazy plot structure of their films, and it genuinely, if the IP hadn't have been Mario and there weren't so many references to put into this film, it would have failed. It would have just been another boring Illumination film. And that's not to say that there's a lot of depth within the Mario movie. It is empty and shallow as hell. Now, I want to go back to the actual scenes and the jokes getting cut. I feel like we should have spent a lot more time with Luigi, or had less time with Luigi. There was just a weird amount of time with Luigi where it could have either been more or could have been less, and there could have been a way to seamlessly have Luigi meet Bowser for the first time that doesn't bounce between Luigi, Mario, Mario, Bowser, Bowser, Mario, Mario, Luigi, Luigi, Bowser. You know, they could have just gone straight from Luigi to Bowser, because there's a lot of jumping in this film that just doesn't need to be there. And we could have also spent more time with Bowser. There wasn't just him going, Princess Peach. Like, I love the Peaches song, but that's twice in the film, at like one midpoint in the film and at the very end of the film. But, speaking of Bowser, where the fuck was he in this film? he was in so little of this film, much less than I expected, especially since Jack Black has been carrying the advertisement of this film. Like, all the fun shit you think about this movie stems from Jack Black. Where was he in this film? Where was Bowser? Because there is so little Bowser in this fucking film. Especially since Jack Black is selling this entire fucking movie. So to see his character not there was really disappointing, and again I bring up Luigi because I feel like they were setting up Luigi really well at the start, but after his entrance into the castle in the Badlands, which when I fucking saw that, all I could think of was Donkey entering the castle in Shrek, where he first meets a certain dragon. You're telling me they couldn't have had that with Bowser and Luigi? Yes, I'm a Bowser and Luigi stan. But after his entrance in the castle and the shy guy jump scare, we don't get much to his character. Like, what was the point of getting him captured in that castle with the Shy Guys if he's just going to be transported to Bowser? Like, you couldn't have just have him meet Bowser at the castle, maybe have Bowser be alerted that there's a human in the castle, think that it's Mario, and then go to the castle and find Luigi. You think that could have happened, but no. They get Luigi, capture him, and then take him to Bowser. I don't see why that was needed. Again, why not just have him fall into Bowser's flying lair at the same time? Now, I know the reason. The reason is... reference! But it was unnecessary time that could have been padded, particularly into the ending of the film or elsewhere in the film for the plot development. You know, in the end, where it feels really fucking janky, especially with the wedding. And as I said, there's a lot of cut-off jokes, especially in the wedding. This made apparent, particularly in the wedding scene, where there is a very clear visual gag of a coin falling off a wedding table as a wedding present for the bride and groom and landing right next to a Koopa. That Koopa eyes it, and you would assume the next step would be him stepping on the coin and trying to drag it towards him and him getting hurt. Very common visual gag. Well, what happens is he eyes it, goes to move, and then the scene cuts to Princess Peach. And then, with the Princess Peach thing, it cuts to Princess Peach, Toad giving her a bouquet of flowers, being like, your flowers, your very important flowers. But it hasn't really been set up that the fire flower or the ice flower is super important. Like, they were in a field of fire flowers and that's all we got. We didn't get like a really important moment of Peach and the power-ups, essentially. And it's just a super convoluted, there's a thing in there conversation. And I just felt like it really wasn't needed. Generally, I liked the film. As a reference, it's really fun. And there's a lot of good odes to the original Super Mario series, to the games, and all that has spawned from the original Mario series. But plot-wise, it is an empty shell, and it was okay. A solid 4.5 to 5 out of 10. Maybe just a 4 out of 10, really. It's only enjoyable for its references and being nostalgic for older Mario fans, essentially, and maybe little kids who like the games. But there isn't going to be a whole lot of kids that know the fucking Super Mario Bros. Theme song, are they? To end off on a positive note, I also loved the blue shell reference when they were doing the Mario Kart bit. Also, during the Mario Kart bit, how Toad was a Peach Mario pro shipper and Donkey Kong was a Mario anti. Now, also, finally for the film, I have to bring this up, but just every time that Mario and Luigi said Brooklyn, that they were from Brooklyn, all I could think of was, it's a me. Hey, reference.